that we wanted to talk about was like the thing that we love to do or the best aspect of our work environment. And like we were talking about when we first started, it seems like our colleagues and our team is the thing that keeps us there, and us jazzy 1 hour lunch on top of working from home and having a flexible schedule. So all these things kind of have happened, like the flexible work schedule possibly, and 1 hour lunches due to the pandemic and working from home and being virtual. So it's kind of cool that we're going to be talking about this, like onboarding with virtual aspects now, because it's all new. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our introductions.
All right, thanks, Stephanie. That's a fun activity to get us right in the right headspace for thinking about positive work environments. So, hi everyone. Thank you so much for attending our webinar, All Aboard, Help New Employees Cruise Through Virtual Onboarding. I am Rachel Pinkard, and I am currently located near Richmond, Virginia, where I've worked in education for over a decade. And I'm super excited to share some really valuable information with you and give you some practical resources to take with you that you can start using today.
My name is Alyssa Puhach, and I'm currently in China, where I work as a math and ESL teacher. And later on in the presentation, I will be showing you our awesome onboarding hub that we hope that you can use and implement at your workplace.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Wilson. I also am on the East Coast in Virginia. I teach Spanish. This is my 15th year teaching, and I'm really excited to talk to you about the 4 C's of onboarding.
So the first question is, what is onboarding? Onboarding is the process of introducing a newly hired employee into a new organization. So basically, if you have been in the workforce, you know a little bit about onboarding. You're familiar with this. There is a lot going on in the onboarding process, right? A lot of paperwork, new employee training, of course, policy and culture overview and training. You have to talk about the benefits. You might get a tour of the facility. There's a lot going on, and so it can be very overwhelming. This is the first thought, right? A lot of new information. So what will we be discussing today? We will be talking about how we can bring all of these materials together so we can house it in one place. Because of course you want to be able to go back and access all of that information that you've learned in your onboarding after, when you want to actually use it for your work. So employees can easily access this information with our onboarding hub that we'll show you in a little bit. And another thing is that managers and HR can easily update this in real time, because it's all, of course, in the cloud. And things will be very well organized with this hub. And the big thing that we really want to hone in on today is that no one will be left behind, because we know retention is a huge thing at companies. Of course, you want to make sure that you keep all of the people that you just spent all of this money to hire. So this is really important for companies, and we are going to address some of the statistics today, especially in this ever-changing climate.
All right, so we're going to start off with a poll. I'm like totally into games and polls. So I want you to go ahead and either you can open up your own another web browser, you can get on your phone, you can get on your tablet, type in pollev.com/Stephanie Wells 865. Alyssa's also going to put the link in the chat. If you're going to do it through your phone and you just want to text, you can just text Stephanie Wills 865 to 37607. We are going to kind of like learn some really fun facts about onboarding and how much it costs, how long it's supposed to take, and all that jazz. So I'll give you guys about 30 seconds to hop on there. I'm going to go into the the first question, but we are going to, hold on, let me just get it to the full screen. There we go. And I'll give you guys a couple seconds to get that on there. All right, so once you get onto the Poll F site, you can just type in your name and we're going to activate that first question. What percentage of job seekers have left their position within 90 days? So you see a job, you apply, it takes forever, you do a cover letter, you interview 69 times, you get there, and then 90 days, you're like, this is not for me. Is it 20% of job seekers? Is it 30% of job seekers, 40%, or 50%? What are we thinking? What percentage of job seekers have left, adios, gone within 90 days? Now, I know you're probably thinking, should I give you the answer that I think it's going to be or what I think it is? Any answer is fine with me. Let's see what we got. Yeah. Oh, what happened to my responses? Hello. They all disappeared. Well, it looked like
a lot of 30% though.
I know, I think most of them were 30%, and that is the correct answer. About 30% of people that get a job within 90 days leave. So if you think about it, let's look at our little Zoom squares. Look to your right of your Zoom square, look to the left of your Zoom square, and one of you would have left within 90 days. They would not be your cubicle buddy anymore. That's it, they're gone.
It looks like
days.
some people are having some problems seeing the poll.
It's not letting, it wouldn't let me answer. At first the question was there and then it says it's waiting for you to activate.
Is it working now?
Yes, now it's working.
Okay, thank you. Well, there we go. That's why we couldn't see your answers. All right, we'll go to the next question. We have 3, so. All right. Next question. According to HR professionals, how long should the onboarding process last to ensure new employees are fully ready to go? 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months? And then think about how long your last onboarding process lasted. So how long should onboarding last? 2 months? 2 months, 1 month, 3 months, 2 weeks? What are we thinking? Let's see what people put. Okay. All right. Well, the people that wrote 3 months is correct. That is actually how long HR professionals think the onboarding process should be. So 90 days, 3 months, you should be training, learning the ins and outs, learning the cultural norms of your company, all that stuff. Write in the chat or give me a thumbs up if you've ever had onboard training last 3 months. And if not, tell me what your longest onboard training process was. Never, right? Ever. One day.
Well, this is, so who said that one day? Laura brought up a really good point because the actual onboarding official process might be dubbed, a 1 day or 2 day thing. But there's so much information that you're going to get out of onboarding that the whole process should feel like it's lasting a little bit longer, where someone's, mentoring you and taking you through the cultural norms of the company, showing you around the office, teaching you about different positions within the company, who to go to. So there's a lot of information, and the official session might be a day or 2, but there's really so much more to that, as we all know, of course.
Yeah, so 90 days, crazy. I saw Professor Laws, you said a whole year. I'm slightly jealous.
I guess it wasn't strictly onboarding, but it felt like onboarding. Yeah, it was a year.
Okay. I don't know if that was like a positive thing 1 year or like, all right, let me fly 1 year. Awesome. All right, one more question. What is a typical cost to hire and train a new employee? Now, this is based on percentage of salary. So 13%, 21%, 28%, or 35%. I know we don't think about it this way, but it's a really great concept to think about. How much does it cost to hire one new employee? $13, $21, $28, or $35? All right,
Remember, this plays into retention numbers. So
what do we? All right, now you're catching on, people. Yes, 21%. But think about your salary and think about 21% of your salary. That is a big investment from any company. And you might not be the only person that they're hiring. They might be hiring 5 of you. It costs money to put ads in the paper, to have people take off their job to interview you, then to get you new laptops, any of your new materials. So 21%. So it would be in the best interest of any company to provide something that's going to keep you there for more than 90 days. But sometimes it's just not so. So great job on the poll. We're going to head on back to the presentation and give you a couple more statistics. Now, that kind of was the statistics that, like, when it goes wrong, when things aren't great. But what about what happens when something is highly effective? What happens when your onboarding experience is awesome? Then great things happen. Like, you feel like you have great role clarity, right? You know what your job roles are, you know what you're doing. You have a strong connection to the organization, right? So you're like willing to buy a couple t-shirts for Casual Friday because you're like, I really like this company. You know, I'll rock a sweatshirt here and there. Feel very engaged in work, right? So you feel like you're invested in the company, that you're willing to maybe put a little bit more effort in. Also, that you feel like you understand and utilize your benefits. Now you're thinking to yourself like, wow, where'd that come from? But let's talk about having a benefit fiasco like I had at the beginning of this job that I just onboarded at, where I did not know I had to click a button to get insurance for the end of the year. And I didn't have insurance until January. And I was pretty bummed during a pandemic. So yeah, I didn't feel like I was able to utilize my benefits. And also, especially if you're in the HR department, thinking, well, other people thinking that you're very capable is pretty awesome. So these things are all great when you have that highly effective onboarding experience. Now, does it have to last 90 days? No, but you have to make sure it works for your company and the employees that you're onboarding. Does anyone have any questions or anything about any of these statistics? All right, let's keep going. Now, everything has to have like a basis or theory. And for onboarding, they've come up with these 4 C's for onboarding. The first one is compliance, right? Compliance covers all the key things: filling out your paperwork, getting your little ID codes, getting your materials like your laptop, your desk, all that stuff is compliance, filling out all the paperwork you need for the government. That would be the first part of onboarding, right? The second part is clarification. That means it's covering all of the job specifics, not just for you, but of all the people in the company. So, you know, you remember those days where you're sitting at the desk and like all the people come and it's like a parade. It's like, hi, I'm Judy. I'm the head of HR. And she just walks off and you're like, okay, I'm writing Judy. Okay, Judy. Next. Oh God, Bill's already up. Hi, I'm Bill. I'm IT. Make sure you call on me when you're like trying to fill out. Okay, Bill. Next one, right? That's clarification, clarifying everyone's role and how you fit into that. The next one is culture, helping understand the company's norms. So stuff like, you know, hey, do we dress down on Fridays? Or, you know, I was just wondering like what our mission statement was, where are we headed? What's the direction, the culture of the company? And last is connection. So building those connections and that network socially with the other employees. So it could be, you know, we have the, what we call the Sunshine Committee, and you have buddy birthdays and you have mentors. All those things would be establishing a connection. So all of that is actually onboarding. So if you think about the last time you were onboarded, they probably assigned you a mentor. They told you about how lunch was going to go, where you eat, who these people are, filling out your paperwork, and it all just seemed like a blur. Now, when we're virtual, it definitely looks different. So those are the 4 C's. Now, we cannot go 2 slides without playing a game or getting together. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to be putting you into groups. Okay, so Alyssa has put a link in the chat for a Jamboard. Now, if you went to Brenna and April's Jamboard session, jamming with the Jamboard, you are now ahead of the pack, because and maybe April and Brenna could be our helpers out in the breakout rooms, because they are experts. Their webinar was amazing on Jamboards. So we're going to be using a Jamboard to give you 4 scenarios. And so when we break you out into these breakout rooms, you're going to click the button to join the breakout room, and it'll be you and a couple other people, and you're going to go to the Jamboard, and depending on what group you're in is what slides you'll have, right? So if you're group 1, you're slide 2, group 2, slide 3, group 3, slide 4, and group 4, slide 5. And there's a different scenario on there. And on the Jamboard, I want you to make sticky notes, text boxes, images, whatever you'd like to discuss the problem. Decide which C the scenario falls under. Is it going to be compliance? Is it going to be clarification, connection, or culture? Now, don't worry, I'm not going to force you to memorize. The first slide on the Jamboard is the 4 C's. So you can always go back to the first slide and you'll be all set, right? So you're going to decide which C it falls under, provide solutions, and then gear those solutions towards a virtual onboard setting. So there's going to be a little sad scenario, and you're going to discuss the problem and come up with a solution. Now, Alyssa, Rachel, and I are going to be jumping into the breakout rooms. If you have any tech questions, or if you're a little unsure of how to use Jamboard or anything, you can always just raise your hand in the breakout room and we'll come running to help you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get you guys into breakout rooms. Just give me 1 second. And then once you click on those, we will be giving you directives if you need any. All right, let's do 4 breakout rooms. People you don't know. All right, we'll see you in a second. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Hope you had fun with your groups. Everyone should be coming back in the next 30 seconds.
We had a great discussion.
Oh, that's good. I can't wait to hear about it, because we're going to go through each one. And actually, they were digging way deeper than I thought they would in these scenarios. So it's awesome. All right, let's see if we have anyone still lingering. Some people like to linger in the chat and wait for them to get sucked out the breakout room, because they'll just suck you out and put you back in the big room. So we'll give it a second. All right, let's see. Oh, here they come. They're coming on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome back. All right, so we're going to quickly just kind of go over our slides. I'll read the scenario, but if anyone from that group wants to just kind of discuss for 30 seconds what they talked about in their group, that would be wonderful. And then we'll move on. So let's start off with the first group. All right, scenario 1, the staff photo directory is from 2017 and 1/3 of the employees no longer work there. Their names have changed or have changed positions. What do we think about the scenario, group 1?
Well, I said I was torn between both connection and clarification. It's kind of hard to build those connections when you don't know who you're working with, but also it creates a lack of clarity. I mean, who does work here? Who am I going to be working directly with? Who do I need to know? And, what their positions are, because I might be working directly with them. It might be someone I have to give stuff to or report to for this or that. And I think that is also a lack of clarity. So
Yeah, we were definitely leaning towards that as well. But of course, a lot of these could have multiple C's that are involved. But clarification is really one of them, because how embarrassing is it if you go to speak to someone about something and little did you know that they got a promotion a year ago, and it's just not indicated in the right spot, right?
mm-hmm. Exactly.
Anything else from group 1? All right, cool. Thanks for sharing, April. Thanks. All right, group 2, scenario 2. No one has invited Pooja to the faculty lounge for lunch. She eats alone at her desk. She recently had a birthday, but was not included in the monthly birthday celebration. What are we thinking, group 2? I heard there's a lot of things talked about.
Yeah, we said that this could be clarification if maybe she just doesn't know where the faculty lounge is or the expectations for telling people about her birthday. It could be connection if she's not going because she doesn't have those friendships and those relationships built up at her new job yet. And it could also be culture if maybe she just isn't aware of the culture of people eating lunch together.
Look at poor Pooja on the top. Those were all excellent. We felt like when we were going over this, all the C's could be involved. So yeah, those were all great ideas for what the problem was. And I think that also you guys were talking about like maybe it wasn't a problem. Maybe she just like wants to be alone. And so that's also something that could be happening. But you know, not extending those invitations could be, you know, making her feel very alone. And one of the reasons why she might be out in 90 days. We don't want her to leave. Great job. Thanks, group 2. All right, what about scenario number 3, group 3? After being interviewed on a dress down Friday, Ahmad arrives in a polo shirt and jeans on his first day of work. He is so embarrassed that he is dressed so casually. Group 3, what happened? Anyone from group 3? Hello.
Gonna go.
Oh, there we go.
No, I said who's gonna go.
Well, I was
So
actually
I can go.
Okay, go ahead.
I like what you wrote.
So we had kind of talked about how there were multiple C's involved here, and how culture wasn't really represented, whether it was during the interview process or during the onboarding process, because this person clearly didn't know that what the dress code was, and whether that dress code was a written policy or if it was just kind of a norm in the office, or what was going on. So Susan had put up here an office culture handbook, which we
Ooh.
thought was a great idea, and that could address the kind of preferred dress code. And I don't remember who put assign a buddy, but that was like a mentor buddy, and what they can expect on the first day. Yeah. Was there
That's
anything
interesting.
else that
That
you all-
plays into scenario number 4, the mentor buddy system.
So Vlad started a fintech company 2 months ago and was assigned a mentor to help guide him in his career path with goal setting and identifying resources. His mentors reached out to him only once via email. Sad face. What happened, group 4?
Want me to speak? I can speak.
Go ahead, Brittany.
You had a lot of great things to say.
I was thinking that it's both culture and connection, because you don't want to have just one interaction with someone. And not only that, via the web, we haven't even had a face-to-face connection. So that could be a connection issue as well as a culture issue, because if it's going to be that type of interaction with everyone in the company, then I don't want to be there. And it's more of like a standoffish. It make you kind of feel standoffish to be a part of a company that, if this is how you do business, would I even want to stay?
Right.
Awesome.
Great point.
Well, thank you guys all for participating in the Jamboard. That was pretty cool. And then also, I just wanted to say thanks for participating in the poll earlier. Now, we're not going to just give you all of these bad problems, right? And not offer you any solutions. So we're going to flip our presentation onto, all right, we heard what the problems are. We saw what was going on, what the issues are. Now, how do we fix it, right? Because we can commiserate all day, but how do we fix it? Rachel?
So after commiserating on past onboarding experiences, Stephanie, Alyssa, and I thought about what was needed to improve the experience? With us all being teachers, we all three know what it's like to teach a lesson that is just a total fail. So, those times when the learners weren't engaged, they didn't retain any information, or maybe it was just too much information and the students had already reached their maximum cognitive load for the day. So we know that any successful training needs to include relevant, engaging learning experiences. And in the case of onboarding, when so much information is thrown at you at once, it would be so helpful to have a central location that housed all of that information that you could refer back to at any time. So we created the onboarding hub for just that. And Alyssa has put the link in the chat, and I'm going to walk you through the architecture of the hub to give you an understanding of how you would approach it and where to find everything. Okay, so welcome to the Onboarding Hub. Again, this is a resource designed to help organize information in one consistent location. And it provides tools and support materials that can be a starting off point to assist you in better understanding how to create an efficient and effective onboarding experience. So once you familiarize yourself with the hub and the tools that are included, you can then tailor them to your specific organization or need. All right. So the hub is an interactive Google Slides presentation. And the first few slides are an introduction to walk you through some very basic steps of instructional design. There are some reflection questions included to guide you through the backward design model to help you frame the onboarding experience. With successful onboarding in mind as the end goal, we suggest that you create objectives, then determine the methods of delivery, and finally, streamline information using the appropriate tools. Now, if you are an employee who has already been onboarded and you are using the hub, if you're using the hub like as a reference point, you can always skip the introduction by clicking this button, and it will take you directly to the main deck, if you will. Now, before we do a deep dive into the hub, I'm going to preface by saying that there is a lot of information and it may feel overwhelming, but don't worry. I'm just going to run through the basic framework, and then Alyssa will provide some scenarios and examples for practical use. And once you familiarize yourself with the hub, you are going to love having all of these resources at your fingertips, all in one central location. All right, so let's dive in. So the main deck is broken down into the 4 C's of onboarding: compliance, clarification, culture, and connection, which y'all are very familiar with after that awesome Jamboard. So clicking on each of the 4 C's will bring you to the definition, along with some categories of strategies that you could use to create engaging materials that can be designed for use in both face-to-face and virtual settings. Then once you select a category, you will see on the right a description of how that strategy would be valuable for instructional delivery, or how to implement the technology into your instructional design. And on the left, you'll see some suggestions for digital tools that you could use to incorporate or create those strategies. Now, while these aren't the only tools out there, the ones that we have listed in the hub are those that we have personally used or are familiar with and that we recommend. Another important detail to note is that the majority of them are free to use at the basic level, and they usually don't require much more action than registering for their site or logging in using your Google account. So when you click on the name of a tool, you will be taken to some how-to guides, links, or other support materials to assist you with better understanding how to use the tool. You can also click on the index in the top right corner at any time that you're in the hub, and that will take you directly to a list of all the tools and platforms that we've included in the hub, as well as some extras that we think would be beneficial for other needs. Okay, so that's a basic rundown of how the hub is set up, and Alyssa is going to run through some examples.
Okay, I hope everyone has the right link now. I'm sorry about that. I might have been sending our edit link. So hopefully everyone can see what Rachel has been talking about and jump right in with us. We do want to mention again that this is fully customizable for your company. So, and it actually could be used outside of companies as well in any organization. So this is something that you can work on with your HR and management team to customize for your organization. And we not only have we provided you with our own tool, but then we've given you suggestions for some of our favorite tools and some that might be good for different scenarios. So we'll talk about that right now. Again, it's very awkward when you have to keep going back in a company and saying, I didn't quite get where I find the email for the company mailing list. When you have to go back and ask questions again and again and again, it could feel very awkward to do that within your first few weeks or months at a company. So we want to make you feel good at a company when you first start. We want to make you feel like you don't have to keep going back and asking questions. Where can you go to find all of your answers in one place? The onboarding hub. Okay, so if you take a look at the 4 C's that we've included, now, of course, you can customize this for your own company and you don't have to add the C's, but we did for an easy visual. So let's take a look at compliance first. So let's say that your company wants you to learn about OSHA. So how will we go back and remember the video that we had watched months and months and months ago? Well, you can do that with a job aid. Job aids are really helpful. And we created a job aid in Google Drawings. Actually, Rachel came up with an awesome Google drawing to help you remember everything that you learned in your OSHA training. It could also be used for fire safety training, sexual harassment training. If you need to go back and remember what you learned at the beginning, this is a good place to do that, right? And some companies, you just feel like you were left behind. You feel like, okay, yeah, I did learn about that, but I forgot everything. And now where do I access that information? You can also use other tools like Adobe Spark, or we have Canva up there. But these are some suggestions for you, and you might want to play around with the tools and see what's best for your company. The next is clarification. So there are many frequently asked questions, right, that you don't want to keep going back and asking your mentor or your boss about. That's embarrassing. So you can do something in a Padlet. You can create an FAQ in a Padlet. And here you can get all of your questions answered, like how to dress, where to park, who is the correct person to email, where do we find that email listserv? And remember, it's all in the cloud, so it can be edited in real time. And of course, when there are new questions that pop up, you can go help out your colleague and constantly edit this. And it's a great way to communicate and connect. So the next is culture. So one way that you can make sure you're acing company culture is team collaboration. So one of our tool suggestions is Lucid Spark, and it's a virtual whiteboard where you can throw in suggestions. Managers can look at suggestions that employees have made, etc. And there are many tools that are out there. These are just some that we recommend for you. And again, if you're not familiar with some of them, you can go in and take a look after this presentation and play around with it. See, learn about new tools, see what might be good for your company. So the next is connection. And we thought, how could we emulate the water cooler connection that you get in person, but in the virtual setting? Everyone's working from home nowadays, and you want to be able to have that personal connection. So why not use a tool like Slack? Slack is a tool that most of us are familiar with because we use it at UC Denver. There are tons of chat and communication tools out there. We put some of our favorite in the index for you. And with Slack, you can really feel that connection with your colleagues, even if you're not in the office. And I know some companies have decided to just go fully remote. So yeah, having a tool like Slack is really important. And just remember, these tools change over time. So when I was working at a startup a few years ago, we were using HipChat. I loved HipChat because it was so simple. It was like having iMessage right on your computer, and you could talk to anyone at the company. A lot like Slack, but I just thought the layout was really simple. But these tools change. So in our onboarding hub, we have everything updated for the latest tools that are available right now. HipChat is, I guess, discontinued. So Slack is definitely the go-to right now, and we really recommend it. So as you can see, we put a lot into this onboarding hub and the index. So the index is where you're going to go to sort of explore different tools that maybe you haven't heard of before or you've never used, but you've always wanted to check out. So this is kind of that time that you can go in and explore some new tools. I know I've really appreciated that in this program that we're in. A lot of people have great tool suggestions, and we've kind of put that all in one place for you. So it's definitely a tool that we hope you utilize in the future and also share with your colleagues in your company. Yeah, it looks like everyone's just discussing some of the tools that they use. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you're familiar with these tools, you've used them before, or even you can write a comment in the chat if you are excited to check out a new tool that we mentioned that you've never heard of before. So does anyone have any questions? I know that was a lot that we threw at you, but again, we're really proud of this onboarding hub and that you can access everything in one place, especially the index. Any questions? Or comments?
Whoa. That is super cool. Dana just wrote that message. We have random open Zooms where someone opens it, and if people are free throughout the day, we can hop in and say hi. It's like going to go visit someone at their desk.
Yeah, that's what we were trying to emulate.
But
I like that.
How do you do you just like click and to see if people are open?
Yeah, so some days I'll open it. Some days coworkers will open it, and it's just we'll write a message. Hey, I'm opening it today. If you all have like, if anybody wants to hop in throughout the day, feel free. And I just leave it open in the background. This works best on days that I don't have meetings, but we just leave it open in the background, and then if people come in, we usually just chat for a little bit, and yeah.
That's
Well,
really
fun.
nice to get the full connection. You meet with your team over maybe Zoom or Google Meets and have lunch together. Yeah, because I think at the beginning of this pandemic, that connection was a little bit lost, but I love how some HR teams have said, okay, this is how we're going to tackle this. This is how we're going to handle this. I think we need to have this available for the people who want that connection. And again, it doesn't have to be a daily thing, maybe just a weekly thing, whenever you feel like you want that human connection. Some people are all alone at home working. Others have spouses or kids at home. But yeah, if you're alone, then yeah, this is a great thing to have with your company.
It seems like a lot of people work for some great companies. Drop-in chats, morning coffee, hanging out with friends, virtual lunch chats. So I think it's safe to say that many of you have a company that really appreciates you and appreciates the mental health side of everything. But we all know that, onboarding can be a challenge in these virtual times. So offering this virtual hub, this onboarding hub would be great. For a lot of different places. So maybe it's something that you can like put together and maybe talk with if you're a teacher or PLC, or if you're talking with your company, maybe HR. It's always good to get in good graces with those peeps, right? Because when you need something, you might be able to get a little extra. So just, if you wanted to discuss like the thing that your job does best that you've seen in our onboarding presentation today, that would also be great. So we can kind of like see all the positives before we leave and not end on a note, right? So I would love to see if you guys like write in the chat your like best onboarding experience or what your job does really well at. So we can all like leave on a really good job high, right? Because it's Monday.
I was going to ask Stephanie and others if maybe this job hub, if it just like felt too much to start with, if you had one recommendation for people when it comes to onboarding, if there was like one really essential takeaway, what might it be to make those employees last?
For me, I think having everything in one central location is important. So, of course, the hub is something that you can go and look back on and sort of explore. So you might have like a day or two of onboarding, right? And then they teach you about everything, and then it's sort of like, okay, have at it. But it's nice that you learn about it ahead of time. So you're kind of learning about some of the tools and some of the processes early on, but this is a nice refresher. So it's good to have everything sort of in one spot. As far as the tools go, it could be different depending on what you're trying to achieve at the company. So that's why we put a lot of the suggestions connected with something. So for us, we use the 4 C's, but of course you can, at your company, they might choose to have them in different categories. But yeah, I mean, each tool might be different depending on the place where you work. But just having it in one spot, I think, is important to go back to, so you're not forgetting.
For me, I would say the video conferencing tools, especially with virtual settings, to humanize that experience and that goal of building community online, to try to use the Screencastify or WeVideo, or if you're going to Dana and Courtney Bell's webinar, Camtasia. So, just doing the stuff and putting a face with the online material, I think, is really a key.
I would actually say the new one that I learned, which is ThingLink. I'm going to type it in the chat for you guys. It's also in the index. I think this thing is super cool, especially if you're 100% virtual, because it basically takes any picture and you can make it into like a virtual tour, and you can add little buttons on there, and it could be all the information. So you've never walked in the office, but you know where the coffee machine is, you know where your offices are, you know where everything is. And then you can also do it with different sections of the company. So, you might have HR, and it might be some buttons to tell you about HR, links to go to, email addresses. So I really, really liked ThingLink. That was probably the one that I would probably use if I was onboarding, because I think it's really cool.
And also check out Arloopa, ARLOOPA. It's an augmented reality app that you can connect to things, where you take the video, like say of the teacher's lounge, to kind of do like an orientation type of thing, so that they can see it even though they're not actually there, type of thing.
I actually have to agree with Alexis. An onboarding buddy is super important. And it's kind of crazy because Rachel and I were technically onboarding buddies. We onboarded together at the job the same year. And I think if she's still here, I'm not sure if she's still here, she might have left. Melanie was like my department buddy. She helped me a lot. I think having a buddy makes it so much better. And they're still in my life helping me out 10 years later. So I guarantee you having those onboard buddies are like awesome ways of networking and doing all those things as well. So, all right, well, we don't want to take up.
Go ahead. No, I was just
going
to say, we talked about that in our Jamboard session, that my company, we don't even do the mentor or buddy system, and it's really disappointing. Like you miss out on that connection, and yeah, you're kind of like lost with who to ask questions to, because you don't want to go to your boss every time. So for me, that was a really important thing. But yeah, I'm going to share the index one more time, because it's a great way to see all of the tools that we recommend, and play around with it. Check out some tools that you've been meaning to look at but haven't gotten around to. We really encourage that. Thank you guys for coming. We hope that you got everything you needed from us. If there's any other questions, you guys can always email us. I put our email right in the presentation link there. Just click on our names, and yeah, thank you guys so much for attending.
All right, you guys have a great evening. Thank you so much.
Have a great day. Thanks, guys.
We'll stay on if anyone has any questions, but you guys can enjoy your evening.